Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Co-host Richard Garraway, and sitting across the Maroondah Council from me is my co-host James Arthur. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, Richie. Very well. It's been too long between podcasts.
It has been a while. There's been many factors working against us, but it's good to be finally back together and talking some NFL because just quietly, I don't know if you noticed, but a shitload has happened in the last month.
Massive couple of months. And yeah, look, we did say we'd have a bit of time off. I was hoping we'd get a couple more podcasts in, but as I said, the world was working against us. We're in the middle of a grueling finals campaign for our football team as well, which took some time away from us, and then a bit of rest and relaxation the last couple of weeks. So it's good to be back. We'll be back consistently now, as this is the 2022 season launch podcast. This will be the start of our new season, and looking forward to talking football with you, Richie.
Yeah, can't wait. So much has happened over the last few weeks. It's really shaping up to be an exciting season. That the quarterback carousel is just out of control. Huge name players moving, being traded. It's going to be a really interesting season.
Yeah, I cannot wait. And it'll be an interesting season on the field and off the field. And will, as always, be led by... I wanted to thank J&D's Breaks. They've gone away from sponsoring for now. They're going to come back on board when the season starts again later in the year. But I wanted to thank Jake and Darren for their support. There is a Patreon this month, guys. It's a real good one too. Chad Ocho Cincho, Bengals helmet. If you don't know who that is, look up Chad Johnson, number 85. He's an absolute weapon. Have a good laugh. He's a champion. So that's the giveaway this month. It was due to happen a couple of weeks ago. So I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do a little break and send it to the winners tomorrow. Also want to thank our sponsors, US Sports Gear. If you need any gear for the, as we just said, a gridiron season's ending, we have another one starting in about 3 or 4 months, Richie. So if you need gear for that, head to ussportsgear.com.au, or if you're in any other state around the country, get there and get some gear. Also, if you're looking for an electrician in the Melbourne, Victoria area, look up Dark Horse Electrics. Our good friend Dylan will come out and give you everything you desire. I can promise you that. And last but certainly not least, our good friends at Burnley Brewing. Thanks for their one of the longest supporters we've had, Richie. So thanks to Burnley Brewing for the long support. Look forward to getting in this week and picking up some beer and doing a bit of a drop off to you, Richie. But yeah, absolutely outstanding. Thanks a lot to our sponsors. And Richie, should we get stuck into it?
Let's get stuck into it. We're going to start with, we're heading way down south into Florida. We're going to start with the Miami Dolphins. They've made some moves, James, and it's fair to say there's a lot of pressure on Tua now.
Yeah, well, first let's just start by, before we get into the big moves, you start by the fact that they've signed Teddy Bridgewater as a backup, who is the ultimate starting quarterback killer. We know that in the last couple of years he gets in and takes time and plays well. So they picked up him, but then you just look at a few of the names. Let's just talk offensively. They signed the big stud free agent, Teron Armstead. They had to wait a couple of weeks. He didn't sign straight away, but he got a 5-year, $75 million deal. They got Connor Williams off the Cowboys, who was one of the worst guards in the NFL last year, in my opinion, but he's still an upgrade on what they've got there and has got some potential. They then signed Raheem Mostert, who's had great success at the 49ers, if not for injuries. Chase Edmonds, the real fast running back, they put him in there as well. Re-signed Emmanuel Ogbah. John Jenkins re-signed. Xavier Howard re-signed. And then you tie that all in a nice little bow and talk about the trade for, yes, he's a piece of shit, and we know that. But he is undeniably one of the most electric wide receivers in the NFL in the middle of his prime, and the Kansas City Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins for a first, second, and fourth round pick. And then he signed a 4-year, $120 million extension, making him the most highest paid wide receiver in the history of the NFL. Just unpacking there, Tua better not have any excuses this season.
It'll be tough. They are loaded, and they're just loaded everywhere. They had a good defense last year anyway, especially in the back end. And now they've just brought in tons of offensive talent to go with it. I saw somewhere they're by taking all pure starting positions are the fastest team now in the NFL for 40 times. This is a real threat to the Bills, unless Tua sucks. Now the problem is I don't know. He hasn't
Do you
looked
think
great.
he sucks?
I don't think so. Because
If someone held a gun to your head right now and said, "Is he going to be a bust or not?" What would you say?
Oh, well, I'll be trying to duck and weave because it's a hard question to answer.
Ask me an easier one.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's actually in that Baker category.
Yeah, me too.
With weapons everywhere, he's just got to get it to him. Throw it to Tyreek Hill on a slant. Swing it out to Waddle. I mean, I don't think he has to be throwing the ball through windows.
I forgot they had Waddle for a second, Richie.
Yeah. They drafted him last year. He was really good.
I forgot how good he was last year. Just for a second, and then they also got Mike Gesicki, the tight end, who's a fast tight end, and they signed Cedric Wilson, who a lot of people know. If you're a Cowboys fan, you certainly know who Cedric Wilson is. He was arguably one of the best receivers at the Dallas Cowboys last year when given opportunities. So they've just loaded up, and it's hard to predict Tua. He is hard to predict. He is a first-round pick. He's a top 10 pick for a reason. Some say he is a top 10 pick because he's a quarterback, and quarterbacks tend to soar up. But he was going to go in the first round no matter what. He had a great college career. I think if, gun to my head right now, Richie, I would say he's not a bust. I think he's going to be a good quarterback.
He'll be good with this team. When he's in this situation, I don't think there's a starting NFL quarterback who would be bad. And if he is bad, he won't be a starting quarterback. So I think they're going to be really good with that much talent. All you got to do is work out ways to get it to them. And they have had some offensive issues down there over the last handful of years. They've had about a zillion offensive coordinators. But I really think, I don't like. Sorry, that's not true. I'm not sold on their coaching staff yet, but you can install a pretty simple offense with these guys and start moving up and down the field. The defense is going to be off. You're going to see a lot of cover two shells, and there's a lot of space underneath when you get that, especially for NFL players. So it'll be really interesting. But to answer the question,
it's making them relevant.
Yeah, all the pressure is on Tua.
Yep.
Staying in the AFC East, we'll switch over to the Bills. Speaking of teams that are loading up, they're doing the same.
Yeah, and I think it started with, let's just quickly get this out of the way. The Von Miller contract. What the fuck is that contract? The dude is like 34 years old. He's a pass rusher. Look, I get he's had a great history and he had a good run. How old is he? 33 years old. So I was 1 year off. 33, 6-year, $120 million contract. Now, I know only $51 million is guaranteed. So you're basically only giving him the first 2.5 years. You can cut him after 2 years, eat $10 million, something like that, plus a signing bonus. It's only a couple of years front loaded. But I wouldn't be giving him $25 million a year now. Like, why do people... No. He wasn't worth it. And I know maybe that's what you needed to pay to get him because heaps of people wanted him. But you know what? Good move for the team. And it's the Bills basically saying, you know what? We've got the cap. Let's load up on this guy and see what we get out of him. But I'm predicting for Von Miller a real drop-off this season. But it fills a big need for them. But it just came with a massive, massive cost with that passing, with that contract. They re-signed Stephon Diggs, 4-year, $96 million. Love it. Stephon Diggs is one of the elite receivers in the NFL. Have no issue with him getting paid. They brought over Jamison Crowder, who was at the Jets. Really good slot receiver. He's on a 1-year deal with tons of incentives. He'll be highly motivated. They also brought over who I'm calling it a little early, Richie, might be the under-the-radar free agent signing of the season, and that is OJ Howard, the tight end. Hyper athletic. They're not going to ask him to block much over there because they don't fucking run the ball very often. So he's going to be able to just run around and make catches, and I think that's going to be a great sign. Mitch Morse, Roger Saffold, they went and took areas that were a little bit light and improved on them. And yeah, I think they've had a great offseason. Great offseason.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I'm not as high on that OJ Howard signing. I mean, I've been watching him for years, and when he fell to us in the draft that year, I just couldn't believe where we got him, and he's just never become a production guy who you can rely on. You just can't. And when you can't, you couldn't beat out the other host of okay tight ends on our roster at the time, like Cameron Brate, people like that. And you can't beat them out with every down, like tight end on the field.
Yeah.
He never really lived up to where he was drafted, even though we probably got him as a bit of a bargain because, he fell in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, they're not going to ask him to block a lick, which is good because he can't. And he's just going to be another option for them. So, maybe he can become an every down type player with them. But I think, given what the Bills were last year, the way they went out, if they didn't have to play the Chiefs earlier, they would have met them in the championship game for sure. I think they're one of the hottest teams coming in. And I think they'll be there again. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be.
And the only reason would be the Dolphins, but I still think the Bills are better. And they're better. You can put it down to one thing for me. It's Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is a quarterback in the NFL, and he's arguably one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL. So they really didn't lose any talent, and all they did was add talent in the offseason. So they got nothing but better at worse. So I think they're well coached. I think there's no reason to believe they'll drop off in any way. I think the Bills are loaded up, and I think they're ready to make a real run at it. And you know what? I hope they bloody win it this year. I really do hope they do. They're a favorite for me.
The FC West is a joke right now. It is an absolute joke. I don't even know where to start.
Quarterbacks?
Let's start quarterbacks. So we'll start with Denver.
They got Russell Wilson.
I was trying to work out how I wanted to transition into that. And I was going to say something really snarky about him because I don't like him, but he's such a good football player. It would have come off like really poorly. So I'm going to hold my tongue there. Russell Wilson, obviously you and I have been doing this for a long time. And anyone who's been listening for a long time knows the tune I've been singing about about the Broncos. And I've been playing this tune for what feels like 5 years. When did Peyton Manning leave? That's when I started singing the tune.
I think he left in 2015, Richie.
Okay. Bloody hell. So finally, they spent the money, they spent the capital, they went the Rams route and went, whatever, they won a Super Bowl without first-round draft picks. Maybe we can do it too. And brought in arguably the best quarterback that was out there available.
I couldn't agree more. I'm not once Rodgers re-signed, which we'll get to, he became.
Yeah, because I don't think he was technically ever really available.
I don't think anyone was letting Rodgers go.
It was all a smokescreen. I am so over Rodgers now. I'll be actively rooting against him. But
we're getting to him.
We'll get to that.
Singing the same song there. But yeah, Russell Wilson, he's a premier quarterback. He was in a really crappy situation in Seattle. The team wasn't great. It was pretty dysfunctional offense. They'd gone through 4 or 5 offensive coordinators 5 years in a row. They weren't doing well. He was starting the season well, then fading. Their offensive line was bad. Although DK Metcalf and Lockett were great downfield threats, they lacked, great route runners over the middle, all that sort of stuff. He's now going to the complete opposite situation. He has Jerry Jeudy, who I think is one of the best up and coming guys. If you're a fantasy guy, go and get him this year. You won't get many fantasy tips from me, but he is he's in a really sore. They've got Sutton, who's an absolute star. And then look, it was a shame they had to give up Noah Fant. I get that. But then they've got Williams at running back. They've got a great offensive line. I think they're a fantastic team. Mix that all in, and they added Randy Gregory from the Cowboys. Bit of a weird one. He agreed to a contract with the Cowboys. The Cowboys then wanted to change some of the wording in the contract after he agreed. And the Denver Broncos basically said, we will match exactly what they're going to give you. Take away that wording they want to put in it. It was something to do with if you get suspended, some sort of clause, if you get suspended, they can take money from you or something like that, the wording. So he went, done, fuck you, Dallas, I'm out of here, and went and signed with Denver. He is not even arguably, he's an absolute upgrade on Von Miller from last year. He played much better than Von Miller last year. So Randy Gregory's an all-out outstanding defensive end. They didn't add a lot more than that. They re-signed Kareem Jackson, but they've got talent everywhere on that team. They were just missing, really a quarterback, and I think 2 first-round picks, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, obviously the 2 second-round picks too, and Drew Lock, who they were probably happy to get rid of at this point. They bring in Josh Johnson as the backup, who's basically a very, 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 very poor man's Russell Wilson. And
I can't believe he is still in the league.
He's never leaving.
He's been around for so long. And
he was the backup. Who was your quarterback at the Bucks? Your quarterback at the Bucks, the big, tall guy that had that great, what was it, Freeman?
Yeah.
Josh Freeman had that awesome year and then completely fell apart. He was a backup quarterback then.
Yeah. He played at San Diego. And not San Diego State, San Diego.
Yeah.
like Divi 2 San Diego.
Well done, Josh.
I think he's only started 5 games his entire career. He's still in the NFL. Amazing.
I can tell you how many starts he's had. He's only had 7 years of experience. He must have gone and come back.
Yeah, he would be on.
First team was 09, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he was 09, 10, 11, 12, 13. So he was Tampa, Cleveland, Bengals for 2 games. He's only ever started 8 games.
I thought so. I was up by 1.
He played 1 game for Cleveland. 2013, he played 2 games for the Bengals. And then in Washington in 2018, he played 4 games. And then the Jets. So then he went from 2013 to 2018. He was picked up by Washington, played 4 games, started 3. And then in 2021, he's played for the New York Jets, played 3 games, didn't start, but had 334 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 interception.
He was picked up by Washington because he's played in Gruden's system. So when Brother Gruden was there, he already knew the system and he could just come straight in. I'm sure he was playing somewhere in that gap. I think it was Canada.
I think
I don't remember.
Was that the XFL gap? That season
God,
started. I think he played in that season. I'm pretty sure he played in that. Also,
anyway, we've dived way too deep.
You know the USFL is playing right now? There's some new pro league. Didn't even know until someone messaged me saying, did you watch the game? I was like, no.
What? Is there
the
really?
USFL is playing right now. Some new startup league. Johnny Manziel's playing in it. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't know because I had no idea. Anyway.
It's funny they talk about America loves football and they'll just watch any football. It's just not true. America loves the NFL and college football.
That's it.
That's it. They couldn't talk about the rest.
Keep going. AFC West. The Raiders. The Raiders. They re-signed Derek Carr today, which I'm wrapped with for Derek Carr. Just quietly, I do not understand the hatred for Derek Carr. Not you don't have to like him as a player. I'm not saying you have to love him. He's not the best quarterback in the NFL. He's probably not in the top 10. He's probably right on the 10 mark, around that area.
Yeah, it'd be 11, 12.
But why are people so upset about him getting paid? The guy deserves it. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. And not only is he a starter, he's an incumbent. He's not going anywhere. There's no backup coming in to get rid of him. No. Maybe you trade him and bring someone else in, but he is not a guy that I think doesn't deserve to get paid. He's done everything right, if you ask me. So Derek Carr re-signed, which I was really happy about. Then,
can I give you a little nugget on that just before you move on to the other signings, because there's some good ones. So his career would probably average around 12th, maybe 13th in the league. Yep. If you take the whole year, all the time, that's probably where it comes out. His defense in that same time has been ranked 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see Derek Carr get better, improve the fucking defense.
And that's what they've done now.
And that's just what they've done, which we'll get to. But then people are going to think he's a hell of a lot better. And they'll start singing the tune again. Like you and I have been playing this song for a bloody long time. We personally just like him.
Yeah.
He's a really good football player.
I don't understand the hate.
And they are bloody hard to find.
Yeah. It's always blown me away why people don't like him. I know he turns the ball over. He turns the ball over trying to win your games. That's if you actually watch him play.
Yeah, because he's down trying to catch up because the defense have let him down.
100%. Yeah, I'm wrapped for him. Then the other, I'll do a couple of the smaller moves. They signed Chandler Jones. They re-signed Max Crosby, the DN, who's outstanding. They signed Chandler Jones, who was one of the premier pass rushers. Now he's only on a 2-year deal.
No, it's a 3-year 50-something. 3-year 50
3-year 52, sorry, with 34 guaranteed. So he's on a 2-year deal.
But that's great with him opposite.
I love it with Max Crosby opposite. It's a great move. They got Rock Ya-Sin from the Colts. They traded Yannick Ngakoue, obviously, because they got Chandler Jones. They wanted to move on Yannick Ngakoue. It's a really just common move, Yannick Ngakoue getting moved from team to team. He must be a headache. There must be something about him because he's not consistent at all. I think he had 9 sacks last year, and he had 6 of them in the first 2 games or something. Had 5 in one in the other, and then had 3 for the rest of the season. So it wasn't that good. They do all that stuff, and then they match it up in a tidy little bow, and they go and trade from the Green Bay Packers for a guy that we argue is comfortably one of the top receivers in the NFL. I don't know who argues he's not. Probably the best over the last couple of years, and that's Devontae Adams. They give up a first-round pick and a second-round pick, and then they sign him to a $141 million deal over 5 years, which, as you can see from what we've been saying tonight, it's pretty much the going rate for wide receivers. If you want him, he's the best in the NFL, one of the best in the NFL. He's going to get that money. But I was shocked that you think two off seasons ago, Richie, DeAndre Hopkins, in the prime of his career, and still is if he's healthy, got traded for a second-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they gave up for Devontae Adams. I think they underpaid for Devontae Adams still. I think a first and a second is worth it in spades for Devontae Adams. It blows my mind.
I reckon that trade was only out there for a handful of teams. I don't think that trade would have been in there for an NFL team. An NFC team at that price. I don't think there's any way that would have actually happened at that price. But like, what an addition! I mean, even a couple of little additions like Demarcus Robinson at receiver as well, simple things like that. Real good athlete. I love what they've done there. We're not McDaniels fans of the human because of what he'd done, but he's a good football coach. And
he's exciting. I think with these guys, he can make it something exciting. He almost made Mac Jones exciting. He's the most milquetoast person I've ever seen in my life, and he made him fun. So I think he can do very well with Derek Carr.
And it's one of the most flexible offensive systems that's out there. It's why you never know what you're going to get with the Patriots, because that system, the way it's built, you have all your plays in there, but there's no sort of staples, if that makes sense. They look at their opposition and go, right, this is what's going to work this week. This is the package. Here we go. I think it's going to suit Derek Carr down to the ground. He's not going to have any issues learning it. And now the couple of the weapons have added, they're going to be really good. But we are talking about the AFC West, which is an issue.
Well, let's get to the Chargers now. And I want to talk. Obviously, they've got the ability right now with Justin Herbert on a rookie deal with a 5th-year option. They've got 3 more years of him. So they've got a really good opportunity to load up and get after one. They re-signed Mike Williams, which I thought was a ridiculous amount of money, 3 years, $60 million, 40 guaranteed. Now, looking at the rest of the deals, it was probably exactly where Mike Williams fits in the current market. Wasn't too bad at all. They then signed JC Jackson, who was an outstanding cornerback for the Patriots last year, second in the league in interceptions, and only because Trayvon Diggs had that unbelievable run. He was up there with turnovers, plus his coverage was outstanding. He was the top defensive player in free agency for me, and they went and got him 5 years, $82 million. And then they went and traded for a second-round pick, Richie, and a 6th-rounder, I should say, for a little-known guy named Khalil Mack out of the Windy City, who I'm not sure if you watched him before he got hurt this year. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. He is perfectly fine. He's an outstanding player. And then you're going to put him opposite another little-known guy named Joe Bosa, who is one of the premier defensive ends in the league. Khalil Mack's never had someone opposite him that good. That defense, they need to improve it, and they have done everything possible. You put JC Jackson there, Khalil Mack, you add in. They've got Derwin James already, who's an outstanding safety. This defense has got talent around it now. They're going to be able to generate turnovers, which is what they want to do. They want to generate turnovers, get more chances for Herbert, and then they've got one of the most dynamic powerful offenses in the league still with Eckler, great offensive line, the forever underrated Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So I think this team said they were a great team last year, and I think they were stiff to miss the playoffs. They had a couple of games that just didn't go their way. If you win, you change a couple of those like low scoring games and put them your way, they're in the playoffs easily, and I think they're outstanding. So I'm very much looking forward to them.
The other thing you've left out of there is more attention to that defensive line is the interior of it. Yeah, they signed Sebastian Joseph Day from the Rams and Austin Johnson, who was at the Giants last year. Both a nice little deal, like 2-year, 20-something and something in the teens off the top of my head.
Couple of big boys.
Yeah, it's a really couple of nice signings. It's just going to beef up that interior of the line, which allows your edge rushers to really kind of tee off, because when you're getting a good push from the front, QB's got nowhere to go. They can't escape by stepping up. You get that hard rush around the outside, and the QB's still going to be there.
Yep,
you can't step up into the pocket. So those two signings, I think, really went under the radar. I also like Gerald Everett, the signing, the tight end out of the Seahawks. No, Seahawks. I think he was out last year. Didn't pay him a lot, but they're the kind of little. It's nice getting a few extra pawns on your team. You know, that nice little ads like that. I think nicely round out your team. And I also saw they signed Chase Daniel as their backup QB, which just put a smile on my face because that's the name.
$490,000 per throw, Chase Daniel.
Yeah, you shouldn't be hearing his name mentioned anymore in the NFL, but we still do. And that's the funny thing about quarterbacks. It's like Josh Johnson's earlier. Those sorts of things definitely make you laugh. Do we want to talk about the Chiefs at all? Because I don't think they got better.
Well, they traded away. Tyreek Hill. Obviously, everyone was like, "Why?" And it's cap issues. It's clearly why they're trying to load up. And then if you look, they went in straight away and got Juju Smith-Schuster and Marcus Badler-Scantling. Now MVS is from Green Bay, super fast, athletic. I think they're going to try and get him to play that Tyreek Hill deep threat role, and then they'll use Juju Smith-Schuster as that big slot receiver. So in saying they got worse, they were already really good to begin with. I think Tyreek Hill is certainly going to be a loss, but I also have a feeling that Andy Reid is trying to change it up a little bit. I think he doesn't want to become stagnant. He did this in Philadelphia. He never kind of kept guys along for a very long time. You know, Terrell Owens was there for 2 or 3 seasons, and then when he obviously had some off-field issues, but you know, Westbrook was there. He moved Westbrook on. Shady McCoy was there. He moved Shady McCoy, and he tries to move guys on before they become upset or as less effective. So I think it's a bit of an Andy Reid move, and he's brought in 2 pretty solid guys to replace Tyreek Hill for $20 million instead of for 15 million instead of 28 million Tyreek Hill is going to be getting. So he's saved himself a bunch of money, and I guess he backs him to scheme to make it work.
Yeah, and let's not forget they probably still have the best quarterback in the NFL. So I do think they're going to be a little less dynamic. As those guys you mentioned are good. They're not Tyreek Hill. So and he does do 2 things, Tyreek Hill. Whilst he does take the top off because he is that fast, his ability to catch the ball underneath and just run past dudes is second to none. Right. Those guys you mentioned can't do that. You know? No. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But you know, the topic of this segment was the AFC West. Picking that when we get to it later in the year, my God, I don't know what way I'm going to go. I'll probably put them all in. Like, it'll just be easier.
It's so hard for all 4 teams to get in though.
Yeah, I know, because we tried to do it last year. But hey, I don't know what else to do with them.
And the NFC West was close last year too.
Yeah,
Seattle just
missed out.
Right now, if I could say right now, just real quick, 3 of them are getting in. Who's the one missing out in your mind?
I just want to say Denver because they always have. Just makes me want to say Denver, but I don't know. Denver.
I think it might be the Chargers.
Oh, fuck, I hope not.
Unfortunately, like I think the Raiders are really good.
Oh, I do too. I think the Raiders are really good.
Chargers or Denver right now, and I just love Herbert so much that he's clouding my mind. I think also if you really look at it, which we will before we get to it, it wouldn't take you much to convince yourself that Kansas City are the worst team in that division. It really wouldn't.
You could make an argument
Honey
very
Badger
easily.
gone. They've got worse on both sides of the ball, and they
Yes.
just won that division last year over the Chargers. And
And it's hard. It's hard to stay up. It's easy being the hunted, not the hunted. Sorry, it's easy being the hunter, not the hunted. Oh, crazy! Maybe I'll leave them out. That way we can get some clicks. Moving on. This I love what you put here in the rundown. The Rams are building the team like they're playing Madden. It literally made me laugh out loud when I saw it on the rundown. Please elaborate.
Well, basically, they don't give a shit about anyone but high-end talent. So they go. Obviously, they got Matthew Stafford last year. They then re-signed him. Whatever. They're just trying to move the money along. It's not like it's anything else than that. They then go and sign. Like everyone's like, oh, they'll bring back Odell Beckham for sure. You know, they're going to do that. But no, they go and get a guy who I think is way better than Odell Beckham in Allen Robinson, who's been hidden on the Chicago Bears. He's had 3,000-yard seasons in a row on the Chicago Bears. Like, other than last year, sorry, because last year he was injured. I think he only played. I'm just getting stats up now so I have it right. So he's gone. So, sorry. He had his first year in Chicago, he only played 13 games and had only played 12 games and 750 yards. If he plays the other 5, he gets it. Second year, 1,200 yards, 1,200 yards, 16 games. He only played 11 games last year and had 410. But we really need to understand that Matt Nagy was actively trying to basically belittle him and make him not get yards. And it's come out now that was genuinely true. You then talk about they signed Brian Allen. They re-signed their center. And I'm just going to wrap it up in a tidy little bow. And they signed Bobby Wagner, who I know probably isn't the Bobby Wagner we know, but he was still very, very good last year. And you go and ask Seattle fans, they'll agree with me. He was very good last year. And he's going on to a defense where he has Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, plus a couple of other really good players up front to slow down offensive linemen getting to him. I think he is going to absolutely be dominant this year. I think he's going to be outstanding. I think that is one of the best signings of the offseason. But the Rams just, what I mean by building it like they're a Madden team, they don't care about anything coming through. They're going to use back-end draft picks, not use trade away first-round picks to pick up guys they want. Now it worked for them. They won a Super Bowl last year with that Stafford move. It's already paid off, that move. But they're going to keep moving them along, signing high-end guys at the back end. Because in Madden, Richie, obviously, age doesn't become a factor in Madden because you can turn injuries off, you know? Yeah. So if a guy's still 90 overall, he's still going to play like he's 90 overall, whether he's 35 or 21 on your in the games. That's what I'm saying. But they just keep signing these back-end guys that in the past, people are like, don't sign these guys. Don't pay someone else's star. They're just like, fuck it, let's pay someone else's star and see how it works out. We'll trade guys down. We'll kick money down the line. Now, look, it might come and bite them in the ass, but so far they've been doing it for 6 years. How long has McVay been there? 5 or 6 seasons. They've played in 2 Super Bowls and they've won 1. So it's working.
100%. I mean, I feel like it's the dumbest thing I'm going to say all the show. Super Bowls are hard to win, like really hard, like super duper hard. And they've played in 2 and won 1 in his time. So I don't think they're not playing Moneyball or anything like that, but all they're simply doing is saying, okay, the market had shifted where all the value is in draft picks. That's all people want to back. Draft picks. The price, you want Tom Brady, it's 5 first-rounders or whatever stupid thing Arian said. All those sorts of things. Whereas the Chiefs are saying, first-rounders, and if you really dig into the numbers, quarterbacks, first off, they're less than 50% hit success rate. And all players in general are only about 60% hit rate in the first round. Or you can take a guy like Allen Robinson, who you know is good.
Yep. Yeah. Give me the players. And
that's what they're doing. So you know what? We know what we're trading for. We know what Stafford is. Why take our chances in the draft again? We might get Goff again. Or worse. Like Goff's considered, he's right on that 50-50 line of first-round quarterbacks. Think about that. That's the chance you're taking. Baker Mayfield. Yeah. We could do that. We could do this game all day. with quarterbacks in the first round. So they're saying, no, you know what? We know what Bobby Wagner is. We know what he is right now. Yes, please. We'll have some of that.
Yeah. Yep. We watched his tape last year. He might drop off a little bit. We think he's still going to be a valuable starter at middle linebacker, and we're happy to take that chance.
Moving on. Cincinnati Bengals adding more pieces. This is a little unlike them. They're notoriously cheap. They run their team to make money, not to win Super Bowls. If they happen to win one, that would be a bonus. But this is a little unlike their normal MO.
No, the thing that I liked about him is what they're trying to do is build on an area that they struggled in last year, and that's the offensive line. They signed Ted Karras, who's a center guard. Is he amazing? No, but he's much better than anything they had last year. He's an instant upgrade at starter. The Cowboy, they also signed Alex Kappa, who was the same. He was a good, solid guard for the Bucs last year. I really like him. Again, he'll start. Lyle Collins was a cap cut from the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't want to, but basically they couldn't afford to keep him and pay everyone else they wanted. So they took Lyle Collins and they gave him a 3-year deal. He is an instant upgrade at right tackle. He will be a fantastic starter for them. He's an outstanding player. I think you'll see them go first-round pick this year at left tackle. They franchise tagged Jesse Bates. They signed Hayden Hurst, the tight end and former first-round pick. Again, is he amazing? No, but he's solid and he's a good number 2 tight end. And in a world where double tight ends now are so popular and so common in an offensive scheme, he's a great second. I just think it wasn't anything big they did. Like Lyle Collins was probably their biggest signing, but the way they went about it, they basically got quarterback, I'm having Burrow to go and see Lyle Collins and say, hey, I want you. I want you to come play for me. I want you to protect me. We're going to win Super Bowls. And he sold them that way. They're trying to do things that was a massive issue for them last year. They're trying to solve it. And I always appreciate the team that does that shows me that they're starting to turn it around. Plus, they got Joe Mixon, who's a really good running back. So give him a better O-line to run behind.
Yeah, I think the O-line pieces that they added, and they didn't have to really overpay for any of them, but they're all upgrades. Whether it's Collins, Kappa, or Karassis, that's how it's pronounced, from the Patriots, all 3 of those guys are upgrades. They didn't spend tons of money on them. I think total they would have spent less than $90 million on all 3 of them. And they've pretty much got them all for 3 years. If they work out, great. If they don't, you can get rid of them and it's not going to kill you. They also re-signed a lot of their own guys, which was always pleasing to see. Their wide receivers couldn't re-sign fast enough for the ones who are out of contract. They brought back Eli Apple. Made me laugh. Poor old Eli Apple. Much maligned. I think they actually got better. Now, they still didn't do what they never do, which is splash on a huge free agent. That's just not what they're going to do, and they're never going to do that. But they were actually really smart in how they upgraded. I want to know who the GM there is, because in the last handful of years, that guy is doing a really good job, and I should know his name.
I don't know his name either.
So you can quickly look it up while I just babble on about him a little bit more.
Mike Brown.
I actually think... Wait, the owner's the GM?
Yep.
Okay, who's the president of football operations then?
Give me a minute.
Or somebody like that. Who's the assistant GM?
The director. Here we go. The director of player personnel is Mike Tobin.
Okay, that's who I'm more interested in. He's doing a good job.
I don't know who would make these calls, but Mike's
got to be him. It's got to be him. That made me laugh. That's funny. I'm really glad we found that out. It's probably why they don't splash on free agents. Yes, it's his money. I actually think they're the best team in the division.
Oh, give me Baltimore, but I'm not far off you. I really like
know.
Baltimore. I'm home. I can't get off the Baltimore train. I can't kill it,
Think
Richie.
about Baltimore? I feel like they've ceilinged already.
You're right. Kind of like the Chiefs. Like you think they might.
Yeah. I think Cincinnati's got places to get better.
Ravens got nothing but better in the offseason, though. They signed Marcus Williams, Calais Campbell, Michael Pierce, Morgan Moses, the right tackle, who's really good. So they got better. But I'm with you. It wouldn't take much argument for me to Cincinnati Bengals. It's certainly not Pittsburgh. Also, just while I noticed it, because I looked at their thing, how awful was Dwayne Haskins' death? Horrible.
Oh.
Horrible. I didn't even talk about it. But yeah, obviously young guy, 25, didn't work out in NFL as of yet, but he was competing to be a starter in Pittsburgh this year behind Mitch Trubisky, who they signed. I don't know. It's just a terrible waste of life, loss of life, not a waste. I'm sure that's a great
And the
life.
way it happened, so I listened to a Miami-based podcast, and the way they talked about that freeway, you don't accidentally wander onto it, and he was hit by a garbage truck of all things.
Look, he's done what many people have done millions of times and gone for a bit of a walk drunk because he was probably a bit drunk or whatever he was doing, high, whatever he was. Like, I'm not gonna belittle the guy. People who say they haven't done it have. You've walked down the side of the street, you've stumbled onto the road before, and you've been lucky. He's got very unlucky on that night.
Yeah,
maybe walked in the dark.
horrible.
He wasn't doing anything wrong, but at 24 years old, it's just a terrible loss. Terrible loss to the NFL. A great college guy, Ohio State, wasn't he? I'm getting that right, yeah? Yeah, Ohio State, outstanding player, All-American, first-round pick. Didn't work out in Washington, but, who knows what the future holds for a 24-year-old. Just sad. I just saw it then and thought it'd be worthwhile mentioning before we move on to our good friends in Cleveland.
Well, yeah, I was saying in the division, the Cleveland Browns, obviously the huge splash trade was signing Deshaun Watson. I don't even know what to do with this.
Can I go, Rich? Can I just go quickly on Deshaun Watson?
Knock yourself out. I don't know what to say
Obviously,
about it.
he's an outstanding fucking player. Outstanding player. I'm not going to argue his play on the field and how good he is. Never going to argue it. He's a top 5 quarterback when he's in full flight. Always has been. The optics this gives to the world, to the NFL, is that we don't fucking care what people do off the field. I know it's not going to become a legal thing now. I know he might still...
The grand jury, threw it out. Which
obviously makes me think that maybe the case isn't that strong, not as strong as what they thought. Because to me, if they had these text messages and stuff, if they had it, they'd be able to use it. I don't know. But
the biggest thing, I think we talked about this earlier, the biggest thing for any criminal case in America is you got to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by 12 of your peers. In a civil case, you need 7 of the 12, and you win. So, actually, I think you win. Oh, no, hung. So, either way, it's so much harder to convince those 12 people. Theoretically, half are going to be men, half are going to be women. She's not going to convince them all. And this one, and you and I have read through some of the reports and things, and then we're like, oh, can't do this any longer. It would be a hard level of proof to get through. But these civil cases, bet you loses a bunch of these.
I hope he does. I hope that my only hope for the women is do not settle for the cash he's going to throw at you. That's all I'm going to say. Do not settle for it. Fight it for as long as you can and do the right thing. But yeah, the move to get him, you give up 3 first-round picks, whatever. I would have preferred to go and get Wilson because he's not a piece of shit. Well, not in the same way as Watson anyway. He's unbearable, but he's not a piece
unbearable.
of shit.
It's totally different.
And then not only do they then go and get him, but they then double down and give him a 5-year, $230 million contract, Richie, fully guaranteed. The first fully guaranteed contract over $100 million in the history of the NFL. So basically what they're saying is, and Deshaun Watson didn't want to go there. He didn't want to go there. Apparently he wanted to go to the Saints. And then Peyton quit, which we'll talk about that a bit later. Peyton quit, and then he's like, oh, I don't want to go there now. So then they go, oh, well, what if we gave you a fully guaranteed $230 million? And he's like, yep, done. So basically what you're saying is, Deshaun, you can be a piece of shit. You can do all these things because we're off the fact that it didn't happen. Maybe it didn't happen to the extent they're making out, but something happened. This many women don't just make this sort of stuff up. Where there's smoke, there's fire, Richie. That's what my mum always taught me. And there's plenty of smoke around this dude. So they're basically saying, as an organization, I think they got better on the field, but I don't think they'll be better because I think that they are giving themselves a bit of a curse here with what they've done. I don't think anyone should have traded for them. The Texans couldn't have got rid of him quick enough after getting that sort of offer because they get rid of that optics. I respect the Texans for doing it and not trying to resolve with him, just saying, you know what, we don't want this guy around anymore. Because tell you what, if they have him around, they're an instant playoff team again, which the Browns are now, in my opinion. I hate it. Stinks. It stinks of the NFL really don't fucking give a shit what you do. They really don't
Yeah.
care. As long as you're a good football player, you're going to play football. Simple as that.
I still think he's going to get suspended. Like, I really do. The NFL
will he get more than a year? Do you think?
No, I think he'll get.
But then it'll be pro rata. It'll be based off.
No. It won't be backloaded. They will say, right, because let's not forget he was not suspended last year. He was held out by the team. So a few of these cases are either going to get settled or whatever. That's why he took the fully guaranteed money. He needs the money to pay the women off. What do you get? 200 and how much?
30 million. It just fucking stinks,
right.
Richie.
Take roughly 40% off the taxes and agents and all the rest of it. He gets a balance. He's got 23 women to settle with. You do the maths. So that's why he took the fully guaranteed contract. He needs this to go away, and unfortunately, he's going to make it go away. Because whether he's found guilty or not, they'll receive some sort of payout. Even if he's found guilty, they'll get a payout. If they settle, they get a payout. That's what a civil suit is all about. It's about compensation for what has happened to you. So I just hope the NFL give him a decent bloody penalty when this stuff starts falling.
They're saying, I'm just reading something now. They're saying that the way he's fighting it, an outcome won't come until at least 2023. So he won't get suspended this season because they can't. And I understand this. The NFL can't suspend until something happens that he's actually in trouble for. So technically, if he was to pay them off and they were to drop the charges, he could technically get away without a suspension.
No. So at that point, whilst the agreement will be, it'll be something along the lines of we'll never talk about and all the rest of it. You're not found innocent. So by settling, you are accepting that something in this is true, and the NFL should have some balls and make a suspension regardless.
Yep.
But we will have to wait and see.
We'll see.
We didn't mention they also traded for Amari Cooper, your mate.
I like Amari Cooper.
Sean Watson and Amari Cooper. These are good signings. They shouldn't have tagged in Njoku. They could have re-signed him for much less. I think they'll get a deal done with him before it has to be, because they don't want to pay him that much, not in 1 year anyway. With all this, even though my wife's a fan and even she's struggling with this, having this guy on the team, she's like, God, it fucking makes us better. But she goes, I feel fucking gross about it.
She's also a police officer who sees this sort of shit all the time.
She is. So I hope it doesn't work out because I had so much respect for that front office, and now I don't have it anymore.
I would have preferred them to stay with the back Baker. Just quietly before we move on from the Browns, someone's going to get a bargain with Baker. I do not think he's a bad football player. I do not think he's bad. I don't think he's a top 10 elite level quarterback, but there is no reason, as you said before, there's no reason he cannot be a Derek Carr for the next 10 years in the NFL. Absolutely zero reason if he goes to a good location. And rumors are Panthers have got the inside run on him right now. Great situation for Baker.
Oh, yeah, I don't want him in my division. Speaking of my division, the Falcons. Is this the first time we have really seen a team take a basketball-style
tank
and just bottoming out and going, you know what? We have to. The Falcons have been pushing money around for what feels like since they were in the Super Bowl. I feel like they've been shuffling money around. Like, you know what? Let's just eat it all this year, clear every dollar of it, and worry about it next year.
So they trade away Matt Ryan, which we'll go to next, where he went and everything like that. But what I want, they are eating $41 million of money on Matt Ryan. It's the largest cap eat in the history of the NFL that they're eating. 41 million of their fucking cap is going to be eating Matt Ryan, who's not going to play for them. They signed Marcus Mariota. If that's not a stopgap player, I don't know what is. I don't even think they'll take a quarterback with the first round. With the first round pick.
They all suck.
The only thing that kills me here is
that's not fair, but you know what I mean.
They're all not worth first round picks. I wouldn't be reaching for one this year at all. Nope. They should take, if they get a chance, they should take offensive linemen, try and build that up. Mm-hmm. And then Kadarius Patterson, he's a fan favorite. He scores touchdowns. He's exciting. He catches the ball.
And he's cheap.
He'll score some touchdowns. He'll cost us not much. Let's get him in the board, to keep people sitting down and watching something exciting. And then after that, they did absolutely fucking nothing. And put it all in a little bow. Calvin Ridley won't play for him this year, which we've gone through. They've got no talent but Cole Pitts.
Their biggest signing this year was their kicker, because Koo's a gun.
He's good.
And they signed him. They signed him to a 5-year, $25 million deal. So at least they're like, well, at least we can kick field goals anytime we get inside the 50. If we ever get inside the 50.
The thing to watch this team is to watch Kyle Pitts. And God, I hope Marcus Mariota is just competent enough to feed that motherfucker because he's on my fantasy man. And I need him. I need Kyle Pitts to be good.
I think you're gonna have to wait. I think you're gonna have to wait at least a year. This is a 100% bottom out, clear the books. It was coming for the Falcons. We've been talking about them.
Matt Ryan has been alive for the past 5 years. He kept 3 years. He kept them winning 5 or 6 games a year. He stopped them from bottoming out because he's a good football player.
But even then, they were always trying to improve. They were always having to move money around because they were trying to get better and add pieces and all the rest of it. They finally just said, enough. Let all the bills fall due. Yeah, we'll pay them all off this year. We'll be awful.
It's not the worst move.
Get on with it next year. No, because they're going to be able to, get it all in, draft all your kids. They were smart. They didn't make a single splashy signing in any way. Almost all, all their signings for guys from other teams were for all like 1 year jobs, handful of dollars. Smart signings, as you said. Matt Ryan's eating up the entire cap, and he ain't playing for him. So this was coming. Sorry, Falcon fans, you're going to be awful this year. If you can watch it and get through it, kudos to you. I would struggle. I'd be all red zone all year. But hey, it had to be done. This bill was coming due, and quite frankly, the Saints are next.
Oh, yeah. It's coming real soon for them. Should we discuss Matt Ryan quickly?
Yeah, move on to Matty Ice.
I'm thinking resurgent season. That's my prediction. I think he's still a really good football player. The Colts are a really good football team. They're loaded on the offense, the terrific offensive line. Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in the NFL, or was last year. They're going to be able to run the ball, run the play action. Matt Ryan's going to dink and dunk it to really good players. He's going to be an elite level game manager for the Colts next year. And, the AFC is incredibly top loaded. Like there's
so talented,
really, really talented teams. And then there's just fucking dog shit 8 of them. So I think they're going to be a really good team, the Colts. I think they probably win the AFC South. Just trying to think, just racking my brain thinking I'm an idiot. Is there anyone else in the AFC South?
Tennessee.
Give me the Colts, honestly. Yeah. And it might be a matter of, they've been on top for a couple of years, the Titans, but I'd comfortably say Colts and Titans will make the playoffs because they're going to absolutely beat the shit out of the Texans and the Jaguars. If the Colts just don't lose a crappy game to the Jaguars last year, and that was what their owner, Jim Irsay, came out and said was when he decided that Carson Wentz had to be gone. He's like, we should have beaten them by halftime. And when I watched Carson Wentz play and struggle, and I'm thinking, this guy just doesn't have it. He's not a bad kid. He's not a bad person. He's not a bad player. He just doesn't have it.
I think he was a little more derogatory than that. He got the head coach and the GM on a conference call as he was speeding off in his limousine after the game. And he said, the rumors he said, that fucker has to go. Oh, no, that fucker can't play for us. That was it. That's where I read it. I don't know if Etsy said it or not, but the sentiment's correct. It's a huge upgrade getting Matt Ryan. He's probably got 2 top 10 level years left, and then probably a top 15 one after that. And they're a good young team with a really good O-line, so he shouldn't get hit much. He shouldn't get rushed. He should have time.
Run the ball, play action is so
exactly.
Everyone forgets when the Falcons were good, they had Devonta Freeman who ran the ball like a fucking bull. So
and
they
Coleman.
ran all those play actions, and Coleman, like they ran the ball so well back then with Shanahan. It was the 49ers offense. The Colts are closer to that now because they've got the pieces to run it like that. You can't run that with Kadarius Patterson because you can't run the ball with him in a crappy O-line. So I seriously love the move. I think it was actually they went to Matt Ryan and said, where do you want to go? Here's the people have asked. They're all offering basically the same. It was a very classy way to end a relationship, and Matt Ryan was the first to say that. They didn't just ship him off to Jaguars and say, have fun. They went to him and said, where do you want to go here? We're happy to eat the cap. It's time we just basically bottom out, and they'll make that happen. So, look, it's exciting.
The thing to remember with the Falcons is their owner's no chump. Like, he owns Home Depot. Yeah. For those who don't know, it's like a bigger Bunnings. they're ginormous. He built the thing from scratch, right? So the ownership there is smart. And as I said, they knew the rent was due, the payments were due. So, as I said, sorry, Falcon fans, you're going to be awful. And it might be for a couple of years, but you're going to get out from under this. And then, the current coaching regime, they'll all be bad and be moved on. And hopefully when this cycle ends, if they get the right coach, there should be a ton of young pieces and shitloads of cap.
Yeah.
They can then go and do something with it.
Agreed.
But it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it will.
Aaron Rodgers.
You go. I know you've been waiting for this. Go.
We speak so glowingly of him and his play on this podcast and have since we started it way back in the SCN days. I don't want to hear that guy again. I'm so done with Aaron Rodgers. Get the fuck out of my life, man.
He's a big fat phony.
Shit. He's a big fat phony. Oh, we needed that drop. He's a big fat phony.
He is.
I can't stand him.
To us. Oh, they took I get he was pissed off when they took a quarterback. I get it. And then they took the running back in the second round, who ended up actually being a really good running back. We're probably all wrong. It was probably a really good pick, the Quadzilla, whatever they call him. But then he signs a massive deal, massive deal, $150 million over 3 years, $50 million a year with $100 million guaranteed. So 2 years are fully guaranteed. And the ramifications of that, the Packers then go, who wasn't he preaching about, I don't want you to move receivers on. I never want to see receiver. I want Randall Cobb back and what you did to Alan Lazard. Well, guess what? You've fucking got Alan Lazard now. Have fun. You don't have Devonta Adams anymore. Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard. And you know what? They signed yesterday Sammy Watkins. Have fun, Aaron Rodgers. This is the first time I have ever hoped that Aaron Rodgers fails because he is his own worst fucking enemy, and I'm not going to stick up for him anymore with I just want my guys to be respected. You don't give a shit about anyone but you, and it was more than clear in this offseason. More than clear.
I was always campaigning that they had not done right by him. They wasted draft picks. They spent tons of them on defense, which they did. All those things are true. They went and drafted his backup in a first-round pick. That's still a stupid pick. But you know what? In a prediction show, I'm putting them last. And I don't even fucking care if I'm going to be wrong because I do not want any part of their success.
Bullshit, Rich.
Don't care. I don't care. I'm putting them last. I'm putting it out there now.
The Bears are no chance unless Fields is just like a fucking Patrick Mahomes 2.0 MVP style guy, which he's not going to be. Detroit, they got Jared Goff. I know they got Amon Ra. They're just not good. They're not talented. The only team that could do it is the Vikings. Kirk Cousins.
New leadership.
New coach. They signed Zadarius Smith. They signed Jordan Berry, so they get around them. Yeah, I'm just going to predict them to win it. They got an Aussie on their team, and they don't have
good enough for me.
I'm off him. I'm off Aaron Rodgers.
So sick, and this is all on top of being lied to about being vaccinated. He says, I'm immunized. You fucking lying piece of shit. I can't stand. I've never flipped on somebody so much. He's just unbearable, and I don't want bad things to happen to him. I just don't want to lose every single game. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I'm not that guy. But I want him to lose every single game for the rest of his career. His actions over the last 24 months, if he had signed with the Raiders, got traded to the Raiders, or went to the Colts, or did something, said, you know what? I'm sick of how this organization treats me. Set me free. If you love me, let me go. That was never what it was about.
It was money.
All about straight cash.
It's just ridiculous. This guy doesn't need money. I still find
not wanting to be vaccinated. And he stays in that little town where the local newspaper may as well be run by you and me. There's no big media. He never cops any crap. He is pretty much left alone. I'm moving on before I get really upset.
Let's move on to the biggest snake in the NFL. Fucking Tom Brady. Richie, I want you to tell the story because you tell it very well about what actually happened, why Brady came back, what the plan was, how it was going to work. It is outstanding.
This has been reported in a number of places and not confirmed by any teams so much as they just don't even comment on it. They haven't even come out and denied it. So basically, the long and the short of it is Sean Payton retires kind of out of nowhere. Brady announces his retirement, but it was a thank you to Tampa.
I think I said it, didn't I? Because Bill Simmons was all over it, and you said you listened
because
to Bill
you
Simmons.
reckon he was going to 49ers. So this all happens. The Dolphins clean house. And the red hot rumor is, so for those who don't know, Dolphins owner is a Michigan alum. The business school is named after him. His name will come to me in a minute. So he and Brady have obviously, they know each other very well, extremely well, because they're both boosters of their alumni, and where you went to college obviously runs deep in America. So the plan was to bring Brady in as like the chief football guru guy, bring Sean Payton in as the head coach, whether he would sit out a year and get out of his Tampa contract or hang out till 2 weeks for the start of the season, say, look, I'm not coming back to you guys, trade me to the Dolphins for a 5th round pick and we're all good. And he would get some ownership stakes in the team.
Yep.
Then when the Dolphins fired their head coach and he immediately sued them for being racist and everything else, it made that environment extremely toxic to the point where this plan now can't be executed.
No.
Then the backup plan was to get Harbaugh, obviously another Michigan alum, from Michigan into Miami, and they couldn't do that either because you're now being sued. So what the hell are you going to do? So he didn't want to borrow that either. So all these plans just get thrown out of the window at the Dolphins. How much of this is true? How much isn't? I don't know. The teams are not talking. They're not saying whether it happened. The only thing is the Dolphins GM has confirmed that they did speak to Sean Payton about the head coaching position. Now, whether it was a phone call or an email, they never interviewed him officially. So that's an easy one because he was he was retired in inverted commas. Even in his retirement, he said, "Oh yeah, I'll probably be back." Yeah, the plan was to be back in 20 minutes at another team. So this whole thing gets just blown up. So obviously now Tampa need Brady back. He was in England. So those who don't know, the Glaziers who own Tampa also own Manchester United. He was in Manchester United with the Glazers and all the brass because they could meet there quietly, even though everybody knew it was reported immediately, about how he was going to come back. In that meeting, he said, I will come back, but you will get rid of Arians for me. They never saw eye to eye. Arians is the first to throw a player under the bus, which is cool when you're winning, doesn't go so well when it doesn't, and it doesn't go well when it's the greatest player who has ever played the game. He just didn't like it. So he says in that meeting, cool, I'll come back, announce it. Arians is gone. Get rid of him.
They waited a couple of weeks.
Of course, they can't do it immediately. So they wait a few weeks. He goes upstairs to become the director of something, football helping out guy. I'm sure that's what it says on his little triangle on his desk. They get him out of the way.
I needed to come up here to get Tom Brady to play for us again, and I'm happy to do it because he's the greatest of all time. That's what his plaque says.
Or they were going to fire me. That's what his plaque says.
Yep.
And that's what happened. And now Brady's back. So he obviously gets along with Leftwich.
Mike McDaniels.
Yeah. The Brady clearly gets along well with Leftwich. A really interesting thing is from year 1 to year 2, I can't remember the receiver's name. Played at the Browns for a little while as well. But he played for Tampa during the year in Brady's first year. He was off the roster, out of the league. They brought him back during the second year. And he was reported as saying it's totally changed. So as much as it was Arians' offense in year 1, it was Brady's offense in year 2. And it's going to be Brady's offense again in year 3.
Him and Leftwich is going to run it
Leftwich, because he clearly has a lot of respect for Leftwich. He has no problem with him. Leftwich really took over the offense in that second year. using that newer system, and Arians was like, well, I'm not learning this.
Yeah.
It's all too hard, but if we want Brady to stay, we kind of need to do it.
Well, in respect to Arians too, he obviously saw the problem. So yeah, they're going to end up firing me here. Why don't I move myself into a front office sort of job, be involved with it still? He's come out and said, and his relationship might be better now with Tom Brady. It might be a better thing because, it can be, I'm not on the field with you now, so our relationship can grow and we can have an off-field. Like, who do you want to sign, Tom? Let's look at who we're going to sign. Because if you don't think Tom Brady rules the roost in that team, you're something else. And it never made sense that he retired coming off his season. It now makes more sense what was happening. It's a really bad optic for Miami. It's to be honest, frankly, quite disgusting. We've talked about the Rooney Rule as a whole. I think it's an absolute fucking travesty that you have to have a rule in place to interview minorities. And I think because there are so many minority coaches that deserve to be coaches, that's what baffles me, that owners are so, flawed. I'm not going to say they're racist because I think that's fair, but they're so flawed that they can't just say that's the best guy for the job. I'm going to interview him because he needs an opportunity to head coach because he's so good at what he does. That they have it's a boys' club, and it always has been, and it's becoming a serious problem.
I buried the lead on it. Obviously, Todd Bowles becomes the head coach of Tampa, so thank God we've got another minority. I'm glad he's getting a second chance where he's in now a place where he can succeed.
Coached outstanding defense the last couple of seasons.
Bloody oath he did. And it's kind of good because we probably would have lost him in the next cycle to be a head coach somewhere else, or Leftwich. Was
well, I believe he turned down the Texans job, Todd Bowles.
I wouldn't take that job either.
And then the Texans they promoted their defensive coordinator, who's another retread minority.
Didn't they sign like Lovie Smith or something?
Yeah, Lovie Smith. Yeah, but he was at the Texans. Lovie Smith was the DC.
Yes, that's right. Because he'd flamed out at
Yeah, he was.
What college? He went to a college and failed horrendously.
Don't know.
Illinois, the Illini. Is it the Illini? Awful.
That's right. And he was at the Texans.
Yeah, but I'm stoked for Todd Bowles. I think he's going to do really well down there. He's an exceptional football coach. I hope he learned a lot from the last time he was the head coach.
And he was at the Jets, who chew through fucking coaches like they're Tic Tacs. Yeah. You never bag a guy for getting fired from there unless his name's Adam Gase.
Yeah. But sort of swinging back around, coming back to Stephen Ross. Yes, got there. So Stephen Ross is the owner of the Dolphins. He's ancient. He's got to be in his early 80s. I'm sure he's worth $10 billion or some ridiculous number like that. He wants to win. He knows he's getting old and he might not get an opportunity.
81 years old.
There you go. So he's probably the worst sports owner in Miami. Probably the worst the Dolphins have had in a long time. He had a plan. He nearly pulled it off. I feel sorry for McDaniel. He's not going to last a year. He'll be a one and done.
The offensive talent he's got, and he's bringing a Shanahan offense. I don't know.
I mean, look.
A guy wins the division and has one of the best offenses in the league and turns Tua around. How do you walk away from that? By
signing Sean Payton. Yeah,
you're right. But of all the stopgap coaches, he is in the best position to basically say, shove it up your ass. You can't find
100% agree. But this is one of those situations where you go, you know what? You were really good at your job. We have the opportunity to get a guy who has been the best at the same job. Yeah. I'm sorry. We have to let you go.
And we're going to get Tom Brady.
And Tom Brady's coming over too. And that's it. Tua stinks. But and this is the whole thing. So Stephen Ross, what he's trying to do now is he's like, okay, I didn't get what I wanted. What do I do? I know. I'll sign all the talent because he's just so desperate. This guy's, I don't know.
He's the fastest black guy in the league. Get me that guy.
Yeah,
that'll make everyone think I'm not a racist. Get him.
He'll and look, the stadium there is now awesome, which is a part of the ownership. It's going to host an F1 race in a month's time.
Yeah,
it's going to go around. It's going to be really cool. If you're in F1, it's. I don't know what to do with the Dolphins.
It's great. Tom Brady's playing football again, and that's all that matters. And I don't care what anyone says. I love Tom Brady when he's playing football. He's fun. I enjoy it. Tampa are relevant again.
It's arguably the worst division in the league,
Mm-hmm.
with the Saints,
Saints
the
are going to be crap.
Falcons,
Panthers are going to be
and
crap.
and the
And Falcons
Panthers,
are gonna be crap. Yep.
and now they got Tom Brady. So
They're right.
We
They're
should
going
be
to
winning the
win that
division if
division.
nothing else.
And
Home playoff game.
We know what history tells us. And if it wasn't for Cooper Kupp in the NFC Championship game, we're still having history tell us that Tom Brady's a winner. But if Tom Brady gets to the playoffs, statistically, every second year he wins the Super Bowl. That's the bottom line. So there's no reason to think that he hasn't got that opportunity again this season because he played outstanding last year. And if the offense is more designed for what he wants, he's only going to be better. And they're going to have the same cattle coming back, the great offensive line. Playoff Lenny's playing for them again. They've got the same receivers. Obviously, Godwin will be coming back from injury, but when he's healthy, which shouldn't be too long into the season, he'll be back. Evans is a certified star. They're loaded. They're loaded with talent still, and Tom Brady's a little cherry on top to keep this run going. So not pencil them in. I'm going to pen them in with permanent marker that they're going to win that division, and they're going to win it quite comfortably. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's it, Richie. That's the show, mate.
It was a long one.
It was a long one, guys. Obviously, it's been a few months off. Listen to it over a couple of parts if you want. I just didn't want to do a free agent review where we go through every team and talk about the free agents because let's be honest, they were all signed basically 2 or 3 weeks away and it's boring. So we wanted to give you some opinion and give you some little takes that we think going into the season now are massive. We'll be back every week from now on. Some exciting stuff coming up. Obviously, the draft is next Friday. Richard, we haven't even discussed, but I'm assuming we're going to be doing our live show. We're going to see if we can make that happen. I haven't even thought about it yet. That's the 29th Friday.
It's the 29th?
Yeah, it's not this Friday, but next Friday.
No, I can't because I got the following week off to go to Fiji. I can't do the live show afterwards.
So I will be doing the live show solo this year. Maybe we might just have to miss it this year. I'm not sure. We'll take this offline though, Richie. We don't have to have it now. But yeah, look, it's been fun to get back into it. I want to thank our sponsors, Burnley Brewing, US Sports Gear, Dark Horse Electric. Thank you for your time. Obviously, Patreon, I'll be doing the little wheel spin tomorrow. I didn't want to fit it into the show tonight. That's Chad Ochocinco, one of the best receivers in Cincinnati Bengals history. I'll be putting that up tomorrow. Thank you to all your support on our Patreon as well. Richie, thank you after a big break. Look forward to getting back into it over the next few months, weeks as the season rolls in. Missed it a lot. And everyone, we'll see us next week. Thanks, buddy.
Draft show.